Hello everybody and welcome back to the library. I'm Lara. Today I am going to be going over the books that I read in June. So this is my June wrap up, and then at the end I will also talk about the books I'm currently reading. So let's go ahead and get started. The first book that I read was Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay, and this book is about two women. The first one is Natalie, and her husband is killed by a man who has a rabies-like virus that has been going around Massachusetts, and they've kind of been quarantined and everything, but he's attacked and killed, and she is pregnant, and she goes to the house of her friend Romola, who is a doctor. She calls her Rams, and she goes to her house so that she can help her. They go to the hospital to get help, and then after that they kind of just have to survive and try to get Natalie where she needs to be so that she can have the baby, because she has also been attacked and bitten. None of that is a spoiler. You can find that, on the back of the book. Mr. Tremblay and I do not have the finest track record, and I will say I did give this book only 2 stars. I have read 3 of his books. I've read A Head Full of Ghosts, which I believe I gave 3 stars to. It wasn't my favorite. I was really hoping I'd love it, and I liked it, and I liked the idea of it, but something didn't click with me. That is one I plan to read again. And then I read The Cabin at the End of the World when it came out, and really did not like it. I think I couldn't even rate it at first. I ended up, I think right after I read this one, I gave it 2 stars. And then I gave this book 2 stars as well. I understand the appeal of Paul Tremblay, but like I said, something about his writing and his characters just don't click with me. And in this book, I think that just the two main characters weren't that special or interesting, and that's not always a bad thing because they are presented as real people with real emotions, but at the same time, it didn't seem realistic. Forget the part about a rabies-like virus going around with humans. I just couldn't click with it. And the thing that bothered me, and I've seen other people who have rated the book lowly, is they hate the nicknames because Natalie wants to be called Nats and she calls Romola Rams, and they both call each other that, and it's weird and just seems like childish. And just like I said, some of their emotions, they just don't seem to have emotion about what they should. Like at the beginning, I just don't feel like Natalie has enough emotion about her husband being dead. And yes, she's pregnant and trying to save herself and her baby, but it just didn't sit right with me. Sorry, had to take the toy away from the dog. But as I was saying, after this, I don't think I'm going to read anything else that he puts out. Again, I do think I'm going to try to reread A Head Full of Ghosts, but anything new or either of the other 2, I just don't plan on ever trying to read them again. I just don't think it clicks with me. And as I said before, I understand why people like his writing and everything, but it is not for me. The next book I read was a graphic novel by Robert Kirkman and Paul Azaceta, and it was illustrated by Marc-Oliver Frisch. And Robert Kirkman, if you don't know, is the writer of the Walking Dead comics. But this book, as I said, is called Outcast, Volume 1, A Darkness Surrounds Him. And this is about Kyle Barnes, who has been plagued his entire life, kind of followed by possession. Not himself, but other people being possessed. When he was a child, his mother was possessed and started abusing and neglecting him. And then after that, he has just had other experiences, and he kind of has put himself away from the world until this priest or pastor asks him to come help with the possession of a boy. So he goes and helps with that, and the book is just kind of about what he's going through, and after he helps with this possession, he's kind of trying to pick up his life, but some strange things are happening, and also there might be a strange man around that's following him. So that's about as much as this first one gets into. I don't want to do any other spoilers, but it was really good. I really liked it. I liked the art style, and I liked the story. It's actually pretty heart-wrenching, and it's honestly kind of a hard read, kind of graphic and gory because it is a horror graphic novel. And like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next volume and seeing where the story goes. The third book I read this month was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. And I have been wanting to read this book for a long time. It came out last year, and I believe it won the Goodreads Award for Horror for 2020 as well. If you don't know, this is about Noemi Taboada, who is a young girl living in Mexico City in the 1950s. And her, I think it's like a year or quite a few months back, her cousin Catalina was married off to a man and moved to this like small town in Hidalgo, which is, I think it's northeast, like 2 hours northeast of Mexico City, where Noemi is. Well, her father gets a letter from Catalina stating that she's seeing strange things and is feeling unwell and really needs help. So he decides he's going to send Noemi to help her cousin because they have always been friends, and almost like sisters. So Noemi does go up to this house that her cousin's husband owns. And it's called High Place. The family is from Europe, and they came to Mexico to mine for silver, but the mine is shut down and they don't have a lot of money. Well, she goes up there. The house is old and kind of strange, as is the family. Is kind of weird about letting her see Catalina, and the only person she's really able to make friends with is her cousin's husband's cousin, whose name is Francis, and he's really the only one who talks with her and helps her. And at first she thinks that Catalina just needs psychological help, but as she remains longer, strange things start to happen. And that's all I can say, without spoiling anything. But I did end up giving this book 4 stars. I liked it. I will say it is slow, and I know that's the problem some people have with it. And I really like Gothic literature. Rebecca was one of my favorite books I read, I believe in 2018 or 19, I can't remember what year, but I loved it, and I liked the slowness of this. Now this one, I didn't like quite as much the slowness of it, but I still really liked it. I would still just call it a gothic novel with some horror elements, because that's just how I feel about it. I don't know if I would call it straight up horror, because most of the time it was more just the feeling of dread that a lot of Gothic books bring with it. But I really love this book. If you don't know, my husband is Mexican, and I love reading books like from Mexico and about Mexico. I loved that aspect of it, just kind of the cultural part of it, and seeing kind of what it would have been like in Mexico back in the 50s. I thought that was really interesting. I think I would like to read more from Moreno-Garcia in the future. And again, like I said, I gave this 4 stars. It wasn't a favorite, but I really, really enjoyed it. And if you like Gothic novels, you should definitely pick this one up. The next thing I read was a novella by Jonathan Janz, and it is called Old Order. I got this for free last year when the pandemic started. I think it was one of the ones that he gave out when a lot of authors and publishing companies were giving out books for free on Kindle. So that's when I got that, and I finally decided to read it. I'm trying to read some of the shorter books that I own. So, of course, it's a novella, so I can't give a lot to it, but basically this is about a man named Horace Yoder, and he pretends to be a homeless old order Amish man that was basically banished. And he goes to this farmhouse to ask for work, and they say yes. But his real plan is to steal from them because he owns a pawn shop or an antique shop where he sells the things that he's stolen. So they say yes, that he can work on the farm for a couple of days, to sleep there and eat there and everything. And, it starts off normal, things he's seen before, but something strange is going on. I really enjoyed this. This is the fourth thing from Jonathan Janz I've read. I've read another novella of his, and I've read 2 of his books. And I actually own almost all of his books because I get some every year during Flame Tree Press's July 4th sale. I didn't get any this year. I was thinking about it, but there was only one that I wanted, so I decided to wait. But I really enjoy his writing. I think it is great. This was a creepy little novella that I really enjoyed, and I think you should pick it up if you like his writing or you just need something to get into his kind of his catalog. If you've never read him before, this is a good one. The next thing I read was a small little short story collection by Adam Nevill. It is called Before You Sleep, 3 Horrors, and it's just 3 short stories from one of his bigger short story collections. I believe I also got this for free on Kindle at the beginning of the pandemic, and I don't really know why I did. I'm just going to start with that because I read The Ritual, I believe in 2016 or 17, and it was pretty good, but wasn't my favorite. And I tried to read another of Neville's books and didn't get on with it and DNF'd it. So I don't know really why I decided to get this one, and I got another one he had, but it was free, so it's not really an issue. So this has 3 short stories in it. Where's my notes? Oh, Where Angels Come In, The Ancestors, and Flory. My favorite of the 3 was the first one, Where Angels Come In. It was actually pretty creepy. These kids go up to this old house in the hills that has strange things go on there, and they're always told, don't even go near it. And creepy stuff happens. Like I said, this one was actually kind of freaky, especially at the beginning. I didn't think the end was as great, but it wasn't bad. The other 2, I really wasn't a fan of. The second one just didn't really, I didn't really like it. And the third one, I just got bored. So I did end up giving this only 2 stars. If you like Adam Neville's writing, though, you should definitely pick it up. They're good little short stories, just not for me. The 6th book I read, and this is one I actually own, is News of the World by Paulette Jiles. And I've owned this for quite a while. I'm trying to read, again, some of the shorter books in my collection, and I actually listened to this on audio. And I gave it 3.5 stars. And News of the World is about Captain Jefferson Kidd. He's, I believe, in his 70s, 60s or 70s, and he's been in several wars. Well, what he does is he goes to all these little towns in North Texas and he reads the news to them. Well, one day he's reading the news when 2 men come up and they have a little girl with them, and her name is Johanna. She was kidnapped by Kiowa Native Americans and kind kind of assimilated into the culture. She was 6 when she was kidnapped, and her family was killed by the Kiowa. And then she is 10 when they rescue her. But like I said, she is assimilated in the culture, doesn't speak English anymore, or German, because her family is German. Johanna wants to go back to the Kiowa, but she cannot. They decided she could not be with them anymore because she was too much trouble, because she, of course, they were trying to rescue her. So the Kiowa decide they aren't even going to try to get her back. So basically, Captain Kidd decides he will take her back to her family that is near San Antonio. So basically, he takes her. They stop several places along the way. They have to deal with people that want to take her, you know, just bad guys along the trail. And as they're going, he's kind of teaching her English, and they're getting close to each other. And it was a sweet little story. Like I said, I did give it 3.5 stars. I went up to 4. I bumped it up to 4 on Goodreads, but it could be anywhere between a 3 and a 4. It really wasn't my favorite. The writing was fine. It was easy to listen to, went by really quickly, but I don't think it's anything super special. I like that it was set in Texas because I'm from Texas. But besides that, it's not one I plan on keeping or rereading, and I don't really know if I'll read from the author again. But if you like historical fiction, it's a good short little read. It's pretty enjoyable. The last book that I read in June was I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. And this is a classic. I have owned it for a long time, and I finally decided I should listen to it on audio from my library. And if you don't know, I Am Legend is about Robert Nevill, who is a man trying to survive basically a virus that has hit the world and is turned humans into basically vampires. And he has barricaded his house because at night the vampires all surround his house and call out to him. But during the day he goes out and gets everything he needs, does everything he needs to do. This book is about 160 pages, so it's not super long. I think the audiobook was like 5 hours, and I listened to it on 2 times speed. So it was only like 2.5, 3 hours to listen to it. And I did not know how I was going to feel about this, but I gave it 5 stars. So really the month ended out well. I saw the movie with Will Smith when I was pretty young when it came out, and I actually have always really liked the movie, like really liked it. It scared me as a kid because I didn't watch like real horror. I wasn't allowed to, but you know, something like that, there's not, you know, a lot of sex and cussing in it, so my parents were cool with it. But as I, you know, got into books, got into reading again, and you know, it was on Reddit and stuff, people were like, oh, the book is superior, the movie is awful. And I was like, how? I really like the movie. Well, now I understand. I think I will still enjoy the movie for what it is, but it is so different. And they, like I said, they really changed the story. And I don't think they had to. I think they could have adapted the book fairly close to what it's like for a movie, and it still would have been great. But I really enjoyed this. Richard Matheson, I tried to read Hell House once and wasn't crazy about it. I do want to try it again. Not everything, this book is old. I believe it was published in the 50s. So not everything is politically correct. I didn't find this one awful, but you know, it does have some sexism and I believe some racism a little bit too. But it's not as bad as some I've read. Not that that's good, but anyways, I really liked it. 5 stars. I don't know if I'll pick anything of his up again. Like I said, I may try to read Hell House, but this gives me hope for classic horror because I have a hard time reading it. But I really liked this, and I already read one this month that I really liked too, that is a classic horror. So definitely, if you've been thinking about picking up I Am Legend, definitely try it. It's a great read. The audiobook I listened to was great as well. Those are all of the books that I read in June. I forgot to mention that I also listened to Mexican Gothic and Survivor Song. I listened to those as well. I started reading Mexican Gothic, but finished it out with the audiobook. And both of those were pretty good. That was just a little update. The last thing I'll do is just talk about a couple of the books I am currently reading that I did start in June. The first one is Plain Song by Kent Haruf. I read his book, Our Souls at Night, several years ago and loved it. I talked about it in my book haul actually, and this is one of his other books. I think this is actually his most famous, popular one, and this is about a pregnant girl, pregnant teenager that gets kicked out of her house, and a teacher helps her kind of get adopted by these two older men on a farm. I think I got about an hour into the audiobook. People love this, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. I can see like that the characters are pretty cool and the writing is still good. I just think it's a little slow, and I think it might just not be for me. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue reading it or listening to it. I may hold off for another time, or I may DNF it. Not sure yet. The second book I started reading in June is Salvation Day by Callie Wallace, and I actually saw this on TikTok. I can't remember what user I saw it from. I should have written it down. But a book talker I saw this from, and this is about Zara, who kind of lives with these insurgents in kind of this new world order, but they're outside of that. And I believe it's like a decade before, there was this ship called House of Wisdom. It was an exploration vessel, and there was a virus on it, and it killed everyone except for one little boy, and he is the only one that can still get into that ship. And Zara and the others in her group want to get onto that ship, so they are trying to kidnap him. I am about, let's see, I'm almost 50 pages in. This is 300 pages. I'm liking it so far. I wish it were a little faster in what's going on, but it's pretty good, and I'm ready to get to the creepy part. I think this is horror sci-fi. Like I said, I'm ready to get to the creepy part of it, but it's pretty good. So that is everything I read and started reading in June. If you've read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts. If you want to know more about these, you can go ahead and comment and I can give you more information. If you like the video, please, press the like button. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Again, let's go ahead and talk in the comments, and my social media is also in the description. So if you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I'm on there and try to post when I can. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.